Today we're going to talk about the square root property, which is another way to factor things if you have a perfect square. So the square root property says for any number n greater than 0, so in other words this number in the right has to be greater than 0 because you take the square root of a number, it's not going to be a negative number. And the other side is something squared. You're just going to take the square root of each side, so the square root of x squared is x. The square root of n, you do have to consider both positive and negative values of that. So in this first problem, it's a perfect square, and we got a number greater than 0, so we're going to take the square root of each side. We're going to get x equals plus or minus 6. And that would be your answer on that one. Now remember, we could do this the other way of factoring, and you can still use that other method, although sometimes it's not as helpful. But if we get this set equal to 0, it would become x squared minus 36 equals 0. And it is a difference of squares, so it would factor into x minus 6, x plus 6 equals 0. And then you would get these two answers. So to do number 2, it is a perfect square equal another number that's greater than 0. So we're going to take the square root of each side. We're going to get x plus 4 equals plus or minus 7. So here we would have to subtract 4 from each side and get plus or minus 7 minus 4 is the solution. So we do need to simplify that. 7 minus 4 would be 3. And negative 7 minus 4 would be negative 11. Now if we put those back in here just to double check, if you put a 3 in, 3 plus 4 is 7, 7 squared is 49, pretend the square root's not there now. Put a negative 11 in, negative 11 plus 4 is negative 7, and when you do square it, you get 49. So it works there. So that's a way you can check them, remember, to see if you know what you're doing. Alright, so on this one, we need to see if we can factor it. Go through your steps of factoring just like normal. Is there anything in common? No. Is it a difference of squares? No. Is it a perfect square trinomial? Well, possibly, because that's a perfect square. Oops, I don't need that sign there. Let's get rid of that. And 1/4 is 1/2. 1 times 1/2 would be 1/4. It would be a minus, and it would be a squared equals 0. So we are going to take the square root of each side then. So we're going to get x minus 1/2. What is the square root of 0? 0. So if we add, we're just going to get x equal 1/2 as our solution for this one. Okay, looking at number 4. Is it a perfect square trinomial? Looks like it could be. Let's double check and see. 2 squared is 4. Yes, so it is. So we don't need to set this one equal to 0. You can do it that way also. But so now we're going to take the square root of each side, giving us y minus 2 equals plus or minus 5. So we would have to add 2 to each side, so plus or minus 5 plus 2. So we're going to get y equals 5 plus 2 would be 7, and negative 5 plus 2 would be negative 3. Okay, on this one, it is a perfect square, so we have it there set for us. So we can just go ahead and take the square root of each side. So we're going to get x minus 3. Now we have a problem because 5 is not a whole number square root. So we're just going to say plus or minus the square root of 5 for right now. Later on we will be simplifying that, but for right now we'll be okay just leaving it that way. So we would have to add 3 to each side, and usually we put the 3 first. So 3 plus or minus the square root of 5. So right now you can leave your answer with a square root. We will be changing that later on, but for our purposes right now, that's how we're going to leave our answer.